Hello and welcome to Test Chamber. I am your guest host, Ben Hanson, and I'm joined by one Ben Reeves.
The double Bens.
Double Bens. And Mr. Jose Hune himself.
Yeah, that's me, Joe Juba.
All right, we're checking out Shadow of Mordor, which came out today from Monolith, and you both have been playing. I have not seen this game at all yet.
Oh, well, open your eyes.
Holy cow,
look, yeah.
There it is, Mount Doom.
Yeah, here it is. So, neither Ben or I actually wrote the review of this game.
No.
But
Miller's out of the office. He's the one who wrote the review.
Yeah, but we've both been playing it. I finished it, and Ben is pretty far.
I'm getting pretty close. I'd say, 3/4 or something?
Yeah,
something like
that sounds about
Wow,
right.
Joe, I didn't know you finished it already. How long have you been playing it?
It took me about 20 hours.
Okay, wow. And what are your overall thoughts on the thing?
Well, we'll sort of get to that as we go along. But, I mean, in general, it's a fun open world game. It definitely combines elements of Assassin's Creed and Batman. And when I say combines elements, I mean it borrows liberally and shamelessly from both of those games. Batman in terms of the way the combat works, and Assassin's Creed sort of in the structure of the open world.
Uh-huh.
I don't know that that's necessarily a bad thing, because both of those games are really fun and successful.
They know what they're doing. So
yeah, I mean, would you say that's a fair assessment, Ben?
Oh yeah, I mean it's easy to see, and I don't think they're trying to hide it. I mean, you couldn't hide it.
Yeah, yeah.
But
it's that weird thing though, where it's like, well, they're within the WB family, so any amount of the Warner Brothers family, so any amount of ripping off of.
Well, Batman makes sense. I mean,
right.
I mean, I don't know that Ubisoft even owns the idea of open world, like their open world traversal anyway, but
right. I mean, what's so Assassin's Creed about it? You're just climbing around.
Yeah, you go up these towers to kind of unlock sections of the map, and then that shows you different areas you can go to and have certain mini games and whatnot. So and then the free climbing sort of element to it.
And you jump off into carts of orc heads. Is that how that works?
No. They've innovated there, so now you just jump off and you can land anywhere you want.
So what we've got here, the opening to this game is actually really strong. Here's Talion and his son, and they are doing some sword fighting. And this is how the game sort of right out of the gate teaches you about like basic combat and countering and stuff like that. Talion at this point is alive.
This should be called Daylight of Mordor. This looks fantastic and uplifting. I can't imagine anything bad's going to happen.
High noon
at Mordor.
Shadow free.
High noon at Mordor. Yeah. So.
Well, this is a pretty good look. Should we move ahead?
So, yeah, it's not spoiling anything because it happens in the first few minutes here. We see that,
his son turns into an orc.
Talion ends up getting some supernatural powers because he ends up sort of being bound to a wraith that gives him abilities to fight and traverse the world in different ways.
And they've pretty much told you who this wraith is.
Well,
I mean, I don't think we need to do that, but if you stayed away, name? It's a known name in the Tolkien verse.
It's actually something. I mean, it's one of the things that I was a little bit disappointed by, because as someone who was excited for this game, I was paying attention to like announcements for it, right? Mm-hmm. And they just announced the name of the wraith, so I looked it up and I was like, oh, it's an actual like thing from Middle Earth,
right? It's from like Silmarillion.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So it's a pretty deep cut. I mean,
well,
if you're a fan of the movie.
But the point is the information's out there.
Yeah. But what's disappointing about it is that the game treats it like it's a mystery. So if you saw that announcement,
right,
the big mystery in the first in the first opening hours of the game is like this wraith's identity, and it's like, oh well, I know that just because I was paying attention.
And you have to wonder like how much of a PR bump do they really get for releasing the name? Like, our website's running that then because like, oh, we have the name of this wraith. Like, I can't imagine it's that much of a difference.
You know what? They even mentioned it in the day one release trailer that went out today.
Oh, okay.
Like, so I would say if you're concerned at all about spoilers, I'd say avoid that trailer.
Sure.
And maybe just watch this because we're better than them.
So I should ask here. So Talion and his family, they have a house they're renting in Mordor.
They have a bridge, is what it looks like. They're
Okay.
just, yeah. hanging out on.
Talion is a ranger who is stationed at the Black Gate.
Okay, that's right.
So-
That's right. And his family's there too. They
Right.
Go,
So it's like a military base essentially that he's stationed at.
Okay. Have we checked out the last gen versions of this game?
Those do not come out until November.
Oh wow.
Oh,
okay.
wow.
I'm curious how that's gonna look.
So yeah, as of right now, it's PS4, which is what we're playing on now, Xbox One, and PC.
But I like the way it looks on PS4.
You like the way that looks, you sick MFer.
I love this. Oh, yeah.
Jesus.
Look at that grape juice on the floor.
Yeah, I mean, I was playing on PS4. It seems to be, I mean, not the performance seems pretty solid, but nothing, it's nothing totally amazing. I'd
Sure.
say.
So, Joe, on a scale of 1 to 10, how into Lord of the Rings are you?
Boy, I don't know, maybe 8.
Okay, I'm just wondering how satisfying this game is after you've completed it as a Lord of the Rings fan.
Like I wouldn't go into it with that mindset. Like it's cool in that it's like a setting from the world, and they bring in like actual names and characters of things, events that are sort of detailed. By the way, this is how they introduce stealth kills.
I want
You're
this in
supposed to
every
sneak up
game.
on your wife and give her a
You
kiss.
sneak up and kiss. Normally, you're not kissing orcs when you do this.
No, normally. We're still
yeah.
waiting for the DLC.
But the thing about it that's interesting from like the lore standpoint for me anyway is that it's like it's basically all set in Mordor. So you don't get to go to places like that from like The Hobbit or The Lord of the Rings.
Right.
So it's not like there's this all of these connections that you're drawing to other places that you're familiar with. Mm-hmm. So
do they avoid the temptation of kind of shoehorning a lot of stuff into Mordor then? Like, oh, by the way, Radagast the Brown's running around here at this time and stuff like that?
they don't avoid it as much as I would have liked, I guess. Like there's one particular familiar character that shows up for a sequence of quests and then just kind of disappears.
Yeah.
That it seemed clear that they just wanted to get that character in
Right.
there.
Let's just
Okay.
get him in there. There is references to other things from the Tolkienverse, like you'll find these artifacts scattered around the world, and that gives you experience and other things, and that kind of like, I don't know, hints at the larger, world lore, if that makes sense.
Okay.
But I would say that's pretty small element to the game.
So they're very
But I
much-
liked it, like as a fan of the universe. So somebody who is a big fan of the universe would dig that.
Sure. So, Joe, no spoilers, but having finished it, would you say they leave some room to go in the future? Are they setting this up as a series, as a franchise?
I think they're definitely setting it up as a franchise. I would not get too excited about the ending.
Oh, no.
Again, like I won't spoil any specifics about it, apart to say that like the last bit of it feels pretty rushed to me.
Yeah, it does feel like they had a whole maybe section of the game that they just weren't able to get around to.
Yeah, that hits the nail on the head. That's exactly what it feels like. Is that like it feels like they kind of had some cutscenes that they had planned to put in that were finished, but not gameplay. So then you just kind of get the cutscenes.
Okay.
Which is too bad. Like, it maybe would have been nice if it had another year to cook, or 6 months even. But maybe we'll get some DLC to
it's
flesh
not-
some of that
I-
out. But it's still a good game.
I do want to point out though too, like I said, it took me about 20 hours to finish this game. It is not like lacking for content. It's just the way the content lines up with the story they're telling seems a little bit bizarre.
Okay.
But there's still plenty to do in the game, and here we're meeting the main sort of targets of our vengeance. These are 3 servants of Sauron. The Black Hand, the Tower, and the Hammer.
Yeah.
Those are the humans then?
Yeah, those the human-looking ones.
Yeah. Look how good this looks, though.
Jesus.
You are so gross. And that's basically the story. Is
All right. I don't like this.
Tal-
Let's shut this down. I don't care. For
Tally in here getting vengeance, like getting revenge on those 3 guys,
this. Right.
is pretty much the driving force behind the story.
All right. Maybe I haven't been paying attention as much as I should have. But why are they really taking their sweet time to murder this guy's family? Is it just a cruel act for no reason?
Yeah,
Okay.
I don't want to spoil anything. They're touching on it a little bit more in the future. I don't want.
Yeah.
So,
Okay.
I assume there's a little bit more.
Gotcha.
To it, but
I mean, I don't want to play the game.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right. I
You're
will.
hooked. You're hooked now.
I am looking forward to starting it tonight. I've been really curious about this game ever since the cover story trip. Because it was the rare cover story trip where they showed a lot of gameplay and emphasized kind of the systemic gameplay more than the story, which was really, really nice to see.
I mean, the game itself does that too.
Right.
Okay, do you think it strikes a nice balance? I've heard a lot of people praising the ability to kind of weave this story amidst this whole Nemesis system where you're taking out orc after orc.
Huh. Yeah, I mean, for me, the story is like I said, it's the one note. It's like revenge. And then every now and then you get some sort of revenge-related thing. But for the most part, it is all about that Nemesis system.
Yeah, I feel like they needed more characters, honestly. Like, in each area you go to, you run into one or two people that you do some missions for, and then you have, like, the orcs you're trying to kill, the captains. And other than that, that's all you meet are orcs. So I kind of wish for a few more, like, people that maybe you'd interact with or, like, have stories or learn about. I think that would have helped out.
I will say, though, they do a good job of making the orcs feel like characters, too. Here's the wraith that we were talking about earlier, by the way.
Okay.
In the absence of all of these human characters that could sort of lend a different angle to the story, part of the Nemesis system is making those orcs feel like they have personalities, feel like they're more than just these sort of like, like feral beasts with swords.
Right. And that's through just the traits in the menus, or what actually brings that personality through?
It's traits, but it's also like the things that they say to you when you encounter them, the kinds of things that they remember.
Yeah.
So like
they'll remember killing you, for example. Like you'll come back from the dead, but they'll remember if you encounter them again.
Or like,
I love that, by the way. I love any game that incorporates death into the actual story in a strange way. So every time you die in this game, it just fast forwards a little bit, and then that orc that killed you is kind of celebrated as a hero, is the way they pitched it, at least.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. So that orc basically gets promoted to captain, and then like the next time you meet him, he might say something about your last meeting. Or like, for instance, there was one guy that I ran into who, like, the last time I fought him, I was on one of the mounted beasts they call Caragors here.
Right.
And like then the next time I met him, he was like, "Hey, you don't have your Caragor this time."
That's pretty good.
That's pretty good.
It's cool to see that.
I hit dudes with like an explosive like fire blast, and like he developed a fear of burning.
Oh, that's
like,
cool.
So because like next time I encountered him, he was like scared of fire, basically.
That's cool. There's not like repeated dialogue a lot in those situations.
There's a bit of it.
Yeah, maybe some. I haven't experienced that a ton. I mean, have we explained the Nemesis system pretty well for those who?
Well, I think
know?
we'll end up doing that in a couple minutes here when we jump ahead.
Sure.
Because then we'll have it sort of all at our fingertips.
Yeah. You want to jump ahead right now?
Yeah, actually, let me kill this orc.
See ya.
Ta-da! All right, and then we'll jump ahead to something that's a little bit further in the game. Okay, so here we are back we are now in the second area of Mordor, which is a little grassier and a little less blasted wasteland.
So just to understand, it's not one giant open world, but it's kind of open regions, and there's multiple.
Well, yeah, so let's open up the map. So this is the second area. This is the path to the first area. They're both about this size. And you see that there are different little missions all over the place. These blue things are the towers that you travel to. So this is sort of the world that you have to explore. And there are other missions that pop up based on things that you can do with the Nemesis system, which, as Ben pointed out before, we haven't not really done a whole lot with. So let's show it off. This guy that we've captured here, this is just an orc wandering around, but he happens to be a special kind of orc that has intel on the army. So what we're looking at here is the representation of like Sauron's army in the second area. They're separate for each one. So what we see here with like Luga the Fleshglut is that we already know all of his strengths and weaknesses. We know who he is, and these are all the things that he can and can't do.
Right.
Now, do they fill out this information themselves, like some sort of Facebook page, do you think?
Yeah.
Okay, they're just typing in, I am bloodthirsty.
Favorite movie, Reality Bites.
They like to lie about their weight and their height.
It's OrcCupid.
Right.
So
yeah, it's good.
I already know that stuff about Luga the Flesh Glutton, and in fact, he's already sort of been enlisted into my service. So let's take a look at some other dude. Like, I don't know, let's see who this is. So Rash the Scout. Now, not only do we know who he is, but we know his weaknesses too. You see, he's vulnerable to stealth, all that stuff. He gets angry when he sees Caragors. So now we can mark him as our target.
And to clarify too, like all those dudes were like captains in the army who
Joseph.
Joe,
Gross.
who led other guys, and then the guys in the back on pedestals were like the war chiefs who were like leading those guys.
Gotcha.
Yeah, so this is, real quick. The second part of the game is sort of all about getting war chiefs on your side. So all of these guys have been possessed by me at this point.
Right.
How much can you actually control them? Can you send them out on missions then? Or?
You can.
That's cool.
Actually, maybe we want to do that.
You should do that.
That might be fun. So
You killed that guy though.
Well, I killed the like.
Oh yeah, not the war chief.
I didn't kill the war chief. I just killed the informant.
And they actually
So
fight
you're being
alongside you?
chased.
It's not just like some menu system where you're sending them out on stuff?
Well, it is. You basically order them to do something, and then that creates a mission in the world.
Okay.
So,
And then you can either let them do it or you can go to help them accomplish it, if that makes sense.
Gotcha.
Which
So-
increases the likelihood that they'll be successful. Because they're not always just going to like do it on their own.
Yeah.
Sure.
So what we're going to do here is go find one of my war chiefs that I have enslaved, basically. And
These guys are having a good time on their own.
Yeah.
am I going in the right direction? Yeah. Okay.
Do you get a real sense of any sort of orc culture through this game? What they're up to?
You
what's
get the
happening
sense
here?
that they really like grog and they really like promotions, and that's that's
They love
sort of their thing.
promotions. Oh yeah. They hate rangers.
Sounds like Wall Street.
Ugh. This is kind of awesome. Anytime a war chief shows up, it gives this chant in this slow-mo, like,
And then the Ally McBeal baby comes around the corner.
What?
be quiet.
All right. I'll
Okay.
shut my mic off.
So these are your guys, so they're not going to attack you anyway.
Right.
Normally they would.
So now I can give this guy a command. It gets pretty extreme.
Jesus.
So this guy who we just learned about, Rash the Scout,
Yeah.
we are going to orchestrate a riot to try and wipe this guy out. So now that's created a riot mission that we can go take care of. So that's over here now. We'll watch this play out. Whoops.
Yeah, you're good.
So you're advancing time then?
No, that's just me fast traveling.
Okay.
You can also advance time, but I never found a great use for that.
Yeah,
Sure.
I kind of didn't like that because then the dudes just sort of level up and then they become harder.
Yeah.
So I didn't really see the purpose of that. Unless you die and it just advances time on its own. But I mean, the Nemesis system and kind of what Joe's doing here is what I love about the game. Is just like going and dominating dudes and like sending them after other characters and sort of like building up your army.
Yeah, building up the army and the way that they remember you. You know, the way that it's sort of responsive. For me, it doesn't work. Like, I'm not as into it as some people are in that, like, you know, they might pull up their menu here and be like, oh, it's what's his name? Here, Feldouche the Runner. He killed me like 5 times. I can't wait to, you know, give him his.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
such a good
right.
runner.
And
You're saying you can do that, but the game doesn't lead you in that direction too often,
Well,
where you
no,
actually
I
feel
mean,
that real
like,
vengeance?
for
He
me,
doesn't have that desire.
For
Joe.
me, the orcs just feel like they feel more like, okay, it's randomly generated names and randomly generated traits. And like, I never got that sort of sense of like, you know, satisfying vengeance against them. I was really just more frustrated when I was like trying to do a mission and 2 different named characters would converge on me in the middle of a mission and like kill me and like, you know, negate the 10 minutes of setup that I'd done of, you know, trying to get ready for it or something. You know?
So is the game trying to tell you that you need to cripple their system a little bit more so that that doesn't happen and kind of take out the higher ranking ones?
No, I mean, there's no way I could have done that. It was like sometimes there are just captains around that show up
Sounds like you just need to be better at video games, Joe. So
No.
Joe's trying to like stay in the shadows basically and kind of help ensure that his dude wins, if that makes sense.
But I also
And now he's not staying in the shadows.
I've bought a super move for my sword that basically gives me
unlimited.
Unlimited.
That was one of yours.
Yeah,
You're killing your own dudes.
I'm not trying. That's actually another problem with the game is that it's sometimes hard to tell the difference between your orcs and the other ones.
They almost don't care too, seems.
Okay, there we go. So now we've got a bunch of my orcs and this one war chief who's going to die.
Okay.
If you want to kill the war chiefs, by the I mean, there are lots of different ways you can do it. That's a really good method. Is the stun and then flurry of blows thing?
Gotcha.
I like that a lot.
Tends to work really well.
There are some orcs that'll have traits where it's like they have a strength that doesn't work against or something.
Oh, this guy really hates defeat, huh?
Just don't care for it.
Not like the rest of us.
The other one, just some orcs thrive on defeat, but this guy, no. Oh, you got him. You should dominate him, Joe. Oh,
There we go.
So I guess when I first heard that you're going to be inhabited by a wraith, I kind of imagined that you'd be switching back and forth between a wraith form, kind of like putting on the ring and taking off the ring. But it's not really that. It's just that some of your moves are more wraith inspired.
No, the wraith mode is kind of like detective mode in Batman or something.
Okay.
Yeah.
We'll set it up here so you can just see it. So this is what and we were doing this before a little bit
Okay.
too. This is what the world looks like. So it sort of helps you identify like
where enemies are.
Yeah, powerful and less powerful characters where, that's a Karagor in the background over there.
Sure.
It also
sure.
shows you items, or there's like plants on the ground that you'll eat to like refill your health.
Okay.
So that's a cool move that you just did like a shadow strike and then shadow mount basically.
It's pretty sweet.
Ported forward and jumped on the Karagor.
Yeah. So these, like there are a couple creatures that you can mount in the game. There are skills related to that. So like I feel like we've been touching on a lot of little things a little bit. But so like what we just saw with the Nemesis system, like having a war chief take out another guy, like that's really just the heart of the system, mainly in the second half of the game.
Yeah,
But like
it's an advanced maneuver.
the thing that's the most fun about this game is manipulating the armies of orcs like that. It's like you get a guy under your control, you like try and get him like. Sometimes he might be in a conflict with another orc that you then want to go to and like make sure the other orc loses so your orc gets more powerful and things like that. And in the first half of the game, it's mainly just orc. You're
just
doing
kill
a lot
'em.
more orc killing.
Yeah.
Okay.
And that's getting you familiar with just like, like in that phase, that's when you're more likely to have like, oh, there's that dude who killed me and I can't wait to get back at him.
Gotcha.
So yeah, I mean that's what the whole system's really about, but with that dynamic element of them like remembering you, so the fights have a little more meaning than if it were just against random idiots.
Sure.
Bunch of random idiots.
Yeah.
So Reeves, what would you like to see from a sequel to this game?
Well, so I really liked. I think you maybe got a hint that Joe is like not completely 100% on it.
Joe's
but-
not 100% on anything. I don't
Right.
think.
I really liked it, and I think for me, like the Nemesis system is like what did it. Like it just
Right.
felt really novel, and I don't know. I just couldn't stop playing.
Do you still feel like there's some room
That-
to grow with the Nemesis system
Well,
itself, though?
Yeah, sure. I'm sure there's things to do with the Nemesis system. The way you send out your characters to do missions for you could maybe be a little bit more elaborate. It's kind of like building up the Brotherhood in Assassin's Creed. They could go more with some of that stuff.
Right.
I think the world itself could be fleshed out a little bit. Because
Well, that's-
right now it feels like these are just orc encampments, but what if we went to a city,
I wonder if this is going to be one of those things, kind of like how the Arkham series still feels strange to have the word Arkham in it after the first game. Do you think like they're going to try and keep the name Mordor in the series because it is the Mordor brand, except they're going to want to expand beyond Mordor?
Or Shadow or something.
Yeah, I mean, they have the Middle Earth thing, but I think that's kind of the way they're trying to envelop all of the Lord of the Rings games from here on out.
Right.
Just label them all as Middle Earth so they can get more of that Hobbit timeline stuff in there as well.
Well, and what
So,
I heard
hold on.
actually was there's legal ramblings in that, and they couldn't call it Lord of the Rings for some reason.
Right. Well, would you really want to, though? I mean, since it takes place before the whole thing, and he's not really... I mean, I don't
I
know
guess
how much you interact with the ring and whatnot, but
they might want to just so
right, so you
know,
have the branding and
the
whatnot.
branding.
Okay.
But
So what I just did, sorry to interrupt, but
Oh, hello, Joe.
what I just did is do a couple things that is like what you can do in the open world. There are like herbs to collect. I just collected like an artifact, and then you sort of identify a spot on it and get a little backstory, like Ben was talking about earlier.
Okay.
That's the kind of thing that I would like to see expanded in a sequel. Personally, is just like the kinds of things you can do in the world.
Because most of it just involves killing orcs.
Well, yeah, because like if you think to a game like Assassin's Creed, it's like, okay, do I want to build up I want to build up my base, I want to build up the economy, I want to like find better weapons, I want to improve my ship, or whatever in that game. In this one, it's like pretty much your main side quests that aren't involved in orc killing are these things where it's like, oh, they're like bow, sword, and dagger specific, and then like liberation missions basically.
Sure.
But all of those just feel really samey to me.
yeah, I agree.
And it would be and that sort of boils down to like what you need in an open world game.
Oh,
It's like-
you just developed a fear of grave walking.
What you need in an open world game is like fun stuff to do in the open world. And in this case, that doesn't really happen. The open world is really just more of like a playground that facilitates that nemesis system. Like
Right.
I wasn't super happy with all of the like different things that were available to me apart from that.
Is part of the problem just that it's set in Mordor, though, you think?
Well, I mean,
I don't know about that.
that's only an excuse if you let it be, like
Okay.
to say like, well, hey, we would have loved to do more stuff, but it's Mordor, so you can't do anything.
Right,
It's like,
right.
nah, you're a ranger with wraith powers. Like that's unprecedented in the Tolkien fiction. So like, you can find a way around it if you want to.
Right.
Sure.
They could always go back 1,000 years or something like Knights of the Old Republic and go to an area of fiction that hasn't really been explored that much.
Sure. Well, that's a good question. I mean, would you want Talion to continue on into the future? I know it's weird to be like, oh, here's this new game. What do you want from the sequel? But I think it is an interesting first step in a hypothetical series.
Well, yeah, because they have some really cool, novel new ideas that work
Right.
really well, and then the rest of that isn't quite fully fleshed out yet. So it's like, well, yeah, I'd love to see it continue and develop into a better game, you know?
Would you want Talion to continue? Is he that interesting?
He wasn't that interesting. I mean, he wasn't bad by any means, but
I mean, look
there's
at
not
him.
enough of him. Look at him.
He looks like he should just be like some guy that your main character walks by in town. Not
Joe
Yeah, it's a
hates.
ranger, man. What do you want? Like him to have a crazy red fro and a gigantic nose so he stands out, Joe? Is that what you want, you sick puppy?
I want.
I saw your
Bozo the
character
Clown, the
concept
video
art.
game. Yeah.
Cool. I think that's a pretty good look, unless there's anything else you guys want to show off.
No, I mean, I think that hits all the big stuff. I mean, and like I said, I'm maybe not as high on it as everyone else is, but I can definitely see when some of these things click, it can be really fun.
It's really fun. I mean,
So-
Miller gave it an 8.25, I
2.5.
believe. You would have been lower than that, I guess, Joe.
Yeah, I would have been a little bit lower than that, but not. I mean, like,
But you still played through the whole game.
I played through the whole game. I'm playing it now, and I'm enjoying it.
Yeah,
so.
yeah. Basically, if you loved the combat of Batman and you liked the basic overworld of Assassin's Creed, kind of like a vanilla flavored Assassin's Creed overworld, yeah, play this.
And I think the Tolkien fans out there can really sink their teeth into it.
Yeah, for sure.
Cool. All right, so that's Shadow of Mordor. Thanks for watching, everybody, and be sure to send your hate mail to @JoeJuba on Twitter. And
Oh,
thank
no, Joe!
Hang in.
Oh.
All right, thanks for tuning in, everybody.
Oh,
See you in the
Joe.
next test chamber.
Drive my lads so hard.